You'd start.
Recording in progress.
Recording, thank you. All right, good evening and welcome to the August 10th meeting of the Falmouth Conservation Commission. This meeting is being held virtually via Zoom video conference. Please be patient. We'll do our best to be efficient and allow everyone to participate equitably. This meeting is also being broadcast and streamed online by FCTV in real time. As this meeting is being recorded by Zoom and broadcast by FCTV, please be cognizant of what you say, how you say it, and what can be seen and heard in your background. I'd like to thank our staff, Jen, Alyssa, Josh, Mark, Amy, and Kristen. I'm keeping Amy in there for a while. For their continued support to this commission and their diligence providing applicants with the assistance necessary to achieve a positive result on their applications. We're missing Courtney for the moment. We expect him shortly, and we don't have Maury tonight. Allow me to remind you guys, after commenting, I'll call on each of you at the appropriate time so as not to speak over each other. Also, that all votes need to be done by roll call. When I call your name, please state your name and your vote, even if you've made the motion or the second. To our public participants, at any time during this meeting, you may enter any comments or questions via the chat function. At the appropriate time, they will be read into the record. The link and further instructions are located on the agenda. As per Chapter 107 of the Acts of 2022 regarding COVID-19, now allowing for full public participation. Therefore, if you'd like to be heard on a specific hearing, please let us know via the chat function. Then at the appropriate time, I will call for public comment. When you are selected, you will be moved into the hearing as a participant. As such, you must have your video enabled, be succinct and respectful of others. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes each. Regarding RDAs, as an applicant, you want to hear a negative determination, as this allows you to move forward with your project without the necessity of a full notice of intent application. And for the benefit of anyone waiting for a particular hearing, and so that you're not waiting unnecessarily, the following hearing is expected to be continued, and that is number 357 West Falmouth Highway. All right, first up is a request for a continuance under a notice of intent, 357 West Falmouth Highway, LC. I'm thinking that might be LLC. 357 West Falmouth Highway, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to raise, R-A-Z-E, an existing single-family dwelling and to construct a new single-family dwelling with garage and covered porch, to reconfigure the driveway, to install a pool, patio, stormwater infiltration system, and a new sewage disposal system, to conduct invasive species management and restoration, and all associated grading and landscaping. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until August 24th.
So moved, Gladfelter.
Patton, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this until 8:24. Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Melissa?
Tug, aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until August 24th. Next up are requests for determination of applicability. Eugene Clerkin, 67 Cliffwood Lane, West Falmouth, Mass. For permission to expand the second story of the house to create a hallway between the home and the unfinished second floor above the garage. Ms. Bergeron.
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Gladfelter, so moved.
Patton, second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Melissa?
Tug, aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, David Schofield, 47 Emerson Road, East Falmouth, Mass. For permission to pump and fill an existing failed cesspool and to install a new Title V sewage disposal system. Ms. Bergeron?
Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Gladfelter, so moved.
Patton second.
We have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Melissa?
Hartog, aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, Michael and Cynthia Serrard, 59 Old Monarch Road, East Falmouth, Mass. For permission to install a fence in the front yard and along the northern and southern property lines. Ms. Bergeron?
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Gladfelter, so moved.
Patton second.
Okay. Melissa?
Amy, I have a question about this one, or Alyssa and Jen, and I just asked Jen about this. I know that in the past, the Conservation Commission has requested that stockade fences be elevated above the grade to allow for wildlife passage. And the Falmouth Wetlands Regulations 1018 10A says that that it talks about fencing provided it will not constitute a barrier to wildlife movement. And I had asked Jen earlier about this particular fence because it seems to go from the water out to the road. And I'm wondering if we need to request that it be X inches off the ground.
I can bring the plan up if you want to look at it.
Please.
Everybody can see that. Melissa, help me out. The
The stockade fence is along the northern property line there. The point of installing the fences for the homeowner is to keep his small dogs in the yard. There will not be a fence from the north to the southern property line, so there is room to move, through the vegetation.
over here?
Yes.
Okay. And then we have, so it's a stockade fence along this, and it looks like a split rail fence with mesh along there, right, Alyssa?
Yep.
And a split rail fence with mesh on this end.
Yes.
So this area of the property is not being fenced off, and this area of the property, there's no fencing this way. So it's just there.
That's where the water is.
There. Yep, that's where the water is. So
A velocity zone, no?
no, this is far, far up Bourne's Pond. This is in the upper reaches of Bourne's Pond, Jamie.
Okay, thank you.
So, I mean, we can have a discussion with the homeowner.
People are allowed to have fences for their dogs.
Well, if it's open at each end or, available at each end, then. All right. Melissa, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I guess it does. I mean, I recall in the past hearing and seeing the fences had to be elevated, and it didn't seem to, I don't know. I didn't know what the actual parameters of those things were. Okay.
I mean, we just try to make a judgment call on site and, see. Mr. Chairman, the property owner has his hand raised. He would like to address the board. I'm going to be moving Mr. Serrard up as a panelist.
Thank you.
Not a problem. Mr. Serrard, I've promoted you to a panelist, so if you want to enable your audio and video, you can address the board.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate the time. Yeah, we have a very small dog. It's about 3 pounds. And what the intent was not to prevent anything through the salt marsh area, and that we would keep it out of the vegetated wetland. There is a large area of openness at the front. Our dogs don't tend to go into that at all. They tend to just stay in the actual grass area. So the fence would basically be only on the grass in where we actually have grass today. And that's really the intent of it. So there is still a way to get around the fence and so forth. But with this having a very small dog, if I don't keep it pretty low, I'm not going to be able to contain her in the yard.
Yes, when I heard small dog, I thought, oh, okay, got it.
6 pounds,
Yeah.
a little of that.
Okay. Thank you for speaking.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. We have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Is there any other comments, questions? All right, Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Melissa,
Fragile guy.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation, and the chair acknowledges that Courtney has joined the meeting right on time. All right. Next up, Kenneth Carbonda and Laura Forte, 52 Crescent Avenue, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to demolish an existing dwelling to construct a new single-family dwelling with attached garage, walkways, driveway, new Title V sewage disposal system, dry wells, and utilities, and all associated excavation, grading, and landscaping. Ms. Bergeron.
Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move, and I have a question.
It's flood zone only.
The scope of
Patton,
work
second.
suggests a a notice. Is this a floodplain issue primarily?
Yes. Yep,
Thank
it's
you.
solely located in the flood zone.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Melissa,
Fragile guy.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, Pamela Reagan, 254 Shore Street, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to construct a front porch and install a dry well for roof runoff. Ms. Bergeron.
Staff recommends the -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so moved.
Gladfelter, so moved.
Bird, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Melissa,
Fragile guy.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, Brian Monarch, trustee, 103 Penzance Road Realty Trust, 103 Penzance Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to construct a pergola over the existing patio and construct a dormer to the second floor. Ms. Bergeron?
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move.
Fragile second.
Ooh. Little competition, never hurt anyone. We have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Melissa,
Fragile guy.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, our continued request for determination of applicability. First up, Wild Harbor Estates Homeowners Council Trust, 163 Birch Lane, North Falmouth, Mass, for permission to vista prune according to FWR 10.18 10B. Ms. Bergeron.
Yes, the applicant is requesting a continuance until August 24th.
So
Bird,
moved.
Second. Bird, second.
It's like the second continuance. It seems kind of simple. What's up with that?
They're trying to obtain an arborist. The first one didn't pan out.
Ah, good reason. All right. We have a motion and a second to continue till 8:24. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Melissa,
Right, guy.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until 8:24. Thank you to the staff for all of these, well, negative recommendations. It doesn't sound very complimentary, but hey, take what you can get.
I know what you mean, Jamie.
All right. Next up are requests for a hearing under a notice of intent. All hearings of the Falmouth Conservation Commission are held simultaneously under the authorities of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw. Although a single decision of the commission is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. And as a reminder, public commenting is limited to 3 minutes. So I encourage you to stay within the purview of this board, which are the rules and regulations of the Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw, and how they pertain to a particular application. The chair reserves the right to stop any commenting that is disparaging or inconsequential to the hearing. First up, Robert Tobias, number 2 Providence Street, East Falmouth, Mass, for permission to install a fiber roll system, conduct invasive species management and restoration, restore a coastal bank, and enhance the buffer to the coastal bank. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I am promoting Mike Borselli up, and I know I saw Teresa in there. And Teresa Sprague up to present their project. I was opening my plans, sorry about that.
Mr. Borselli, Ms. Sprague, Mike, you're up, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. For the record, Mike Borselli, Falmouth Engineering, and I represent the applicant along with Teresa Sprague from Blue Flax Design. With your permission, I'd like to share my screen.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Tobias owns number 2 Providence Street, which is at the very end of Providence Street off of Mara Vista. There's a paper street known as Little Bay Street adjacent to it, and just west of that is Little Pond. The wetland resources include land under the ocean, land containing shellfish. There's a narrow coastal beach, which is actually where Little Bay Street is, which is a paper road. Little Bay Street is underwater, not an actual road. And there's a very low profile coastal bank. The height of it averages about 2.5 feet. It is eroding. We have shown the no disturbance zone A, which is 75 feet because it's a eroding coastal bank in a velocity zone. And the outer buffer zone B is 25 feet. The balance of the lot is in flood hazard zone AE12 from this blue line, this direction. And the applicant has observed as over time as he's lived here, the coastal bank eroding, and there's an escarpment that has been created, and he's concerned about it eroding further into his property. And he'd like to take steps to prevent further erosion. He'd also like to, at the same time, enhance the buffer, restore the buffer, manage some invasives. So it's several activities proposed with this. The property wouldn't qualify for a hard solution. I met with Jim several months ago now to talk about the viability of perhaps a low profile bulkhead, but since the house isn't in imminent danger, she advised us we should attempt the soft solution first, which is why we're here. So pretty straightforward. The details associated with the fiber rolls and the design of the fiber rolls and the restoration and invasives management were all designed by Blue Flax Design. And with that, I'll turn it over to Teresa.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Good evening, everyone. Teresa Sprague with Blue Flax Design. Through the chair, with your permission, may I share the screen?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Do that. Here we go. Okay. Okay, so you should be seeing the screen here with the plan for the invasive species management and the fiber roll array. Basically, we are looking to install a fiber roll array. It really only about 2 rolls high, as Mike pointed out. This is a very low profile bank. We have a section here to show you what we're proposing to do. I'd like to show a couple of pictures of the site, if possible. These were taken in March, so the vegetation hadn't yet leafed out, so you can kind of see the area of escarpment that Mike was discussing. It's clear that this has been seeing erosion for quite some time. As we can look down the bank, you'll see that several attempts appear to have been made to stabilize. A little bit of a DIY bank stabilization has been occurring here over time. This is on the southern end of the area where the escarpment's taking place, and some wood had been installed and some gravel to attempt to kind of slow that down. On the northern portion of the bank, there has been the installation of a myriad of different types of materials, concrete, cinder block, etc., including some old boats and lots of different debris. What's interesting about this project is when we go back to the site plan and look at this, we've got the existing house, and then we've got sort of this area showing a vegetated edge, and this area showing brush. There's a strip of invasive vegetation. It's almost like an invasive vegetation hedge. It's about 80% invaded. There's a large cherry tree in this area here. This area is about 80 to 90% invaded. We've got porcelain berry, Asiatic bittersweet, honeysuckle, etc. But I'm going to show a Google Earth image that I think is interesting and telling. So this is the western property line, approximate measurement of 2 Providence Street. The property line on the northern edge of the property actually comes in quite close to the existing dwelling just to the north. And what's happened over time is the property owner to the north has been gardening and storing debris on what is actually the property of 2 Providence Street. So you can see this area in here. This is this invasive species hedge. This is the large cherry tree. And then this area in here is really filled with some raised beds, a bunch of debris, several old boats, lots of debris in here. And this is where we were looking at the concrete and the cinder block. Basically on this side of the property. This area here, as you head towards the south, the lawn mainly runs right up to the top of the coastal bank. There is some bittersweet vine and some porcelain berry vine located in this area, but the majority of the invasive vegetation is in this strip right here, and Mr. Tobias's property actually goes quite a bit beyond that to this area here. So when we go back to the site plan, what we're proposing to do is remove the invasive vegetation, or this invasive vegetation hedge, and then remove all of the debris, the garden debris, the concrete, the boats, etc. We're proposing a viburnum hedge along the northern property line to really reestablish the property line here and create a screening hedge along this property line. And then Mr. Tobias is hoping that when we remove this strip of invasive vegetation, he'd like to, and all of the debris that's in this northern part of the lot, he would like to just bring that back to a fescue clover. This is basically all Cape Cod lawn within here, matching bit of Cape Cod lawn within this area. We're proposing, in addition to the fiber roll array and then managing the invasive vegetation along here, to then provide a vegetated buffer strip within this area here where none currently exists. So we're removing about 1,300 square feet of existing lawn and debris in order to install this vegetated buffer strip. This area shown in green is about 620 square feet. Again, there is some invasive vegetation removal in here, but most of this is debris that's been encroaching from the property to the north. I think that's fairly straightforward. We're proposing to plant this area out densely with shrubs. Mr. Tobias would like to maintain a 4-foot path that allows him access to the water, basically through the central portion of the property. The fiber roll array, the details are written in the plan notes. One of the plan notes does say that high and low density fiber rolls, because this is a velocity zone, the 2 rolls will be high density rolls that we would place in here. The rolls covered with sand will be planted with a mix of Spartina patens and beach grass to get some vegetation quickly established, and then the buffer strip planted with native shrubs. So happy to answer any questions about the proposed fiber roll array, some of the invasive species management, and the goal of cleaning up that debris, particularly on that northern portion of the lot.
Thank you. Jen, do you want to begin?
I can. I think Teresa, we don't have any, real issues with the installation of the fiber rolls. It is an eroding, low profile bank. So, I think trying that soft solution is best for right now. What concerns me is, some of your plant selections along there, aren't true, coastal bank velocity zone plants like Carolina Rose and things like that. But what more concerns me is the area that the applicant wants to return to lawn. This is an eroding coastal bank in a velocity zone. In a perfect world, it would have a 75-foot no-touch buffer. The buffer you're proposing, you're proposing a buffer, which is great, but it's only 13 feet wide. And then up in the other area where you're proposing the, invasive species removal, if, your client's really concerned about sea level rise and, losing the bank, having a healthy, large, wide established buffer along that bank is going to be key in helping. So staff is not looking favorably on the area that the applicant wants to return to lawn, because we really do think that should be a buffer. Other than that, I think those are our only comments, unless Alyssa has anything to add.
I have nothing to add. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner comments. Betsy.
I have a couple of questions. One is where the fiber roll, well, first of all, is the fiber roll array going to be straight along the coastal bank? Because right now the coastal bank isn't straight. It has a scallop in it.
Yes. So what we'll end up doing is we will have to do a little bit of excavation to lay that back and create a stable angle of repose. It's not going to be in a perfect line. I know we're kind of looking in the site plan. When you look at it, it looks like a perfectly straight line, but we're going to follow the contours of the existing top of bank. So there is on the southern portion where you see on the plan, it says edge of lawn, and then it's showing that's scarped back pretty far. So that one, the fiber rolls may lay back a little bit further and then come out, and they'll slightly curve as we head to the north. So they won't be laying in exactly a straight line, but obviously they need to be installed in such a way that they're continuous, that there's no breaks and we're not allowing water to get in and behind them. So it will be straightened a little bit. And as we get to the north, when we remove that concrete and all that debris, I suspect we're going to find that we're going to create a little bit straighter line than what we're currently seeing, that it's going to be more in line with that southern area where we're seeing where we just saw the wood and the gravel in the photos I showed you. I think as we get north and we start to get into that concrete and cinder block and all that, once we remove that, we're going to have a fairly straight line with maybe a little bit of curve, a little bit of wobble, but a fairly straight line of fiber rolls.
Okay, that's what I figured. But
yeah.
But I mean, that should be clear. I mean, that should be a finding that it's going to follow the contour of the bank.
Yes.
But my next question is, and maybe Mike, you could answer this, is it looks like the property line ends at the coastal bank. Who owns Little Bay Street?
Little Bay Street's owned by the applicant. Little Bay Street is listed as a private paper road. And when a lot fronts on a private road.
Right. They own at least to the
They own to the
midline.
center line. If there's lots on both sides of the road, they own the entire road. There's not lots on both sides. So he owns Little Bay.
Okay, great, thanks.
Yep.
And and my third question, sort of related to Jen's question, you mentioned and showed a picture of where the cherry tree was, and I was going to ask if you were going to keep the cherry tree.
Yes, the cherry tree is going to remain. It provides some privacy for both Mr. Tobias and the owners of lot 40-42 showing on Mike's plan. So it provides privacy, and I think all the abutters appreciate that tree. There's no proposal to remove that tree.
I don't actually see it on Mike's plan, though.
It's not located. It was not located in the field. I can share again, and you can.
Well, no, you don't have to, but I think it should be.
Yeah, I can show it
located on the
plan.
final.
Okay.
I can show it on the plan. It was in the thicket, so we didn't go in there and measure it, but I can get in there and measure where it is and show it on the plan.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's supposed to be there at the end, and Alyssa has to give a certificate of compliance.
Yes.
She's going to want to know where it is.
We want to establish that it exists. I understand.
Exactly.
Yep, and we're happy to add it to the plan.
Okay, and that's all for now.
All right. Courtney.
The only question I have is to follow on from Betsy. I would assume he can just submit a revised plan to show the tree. We don't need to continue this.
Correct.
Well, it depends. It depends on how they respond to Jen's.
Yeah, I understand, but on this issue.
Yep.
Okay.
Right.
I have no questions.
Thank you. Kevin.
No questions, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Melissa.
Now, I have a couple of questions. First of all, when I was out at the property the other day, I was looking at the staking, and the stakes that said core, is that the furthest east of the rolls? Is that as far east as they're going to go, or is that the beginning?
That was intended to be approximately at the top, yes, and then it would be shaped from there.
Okay.
Except the cores.
Okay, thank you. And then where on your plan it says edge of lawn, and what do you call it? Teresa pointed out the 4x4, the cedar looking 4x4 that was in there with some gravel behind it, but there's also 4 steps going down, or 4 other 4x4 segments going down in a railing. And I'm wondering, are those going to be removed in this project?
Teresa, I'll let you answer that.
Yes, they will have to be removed for the installation of the fiber roll array. And what we're proposing is just to leave a 4-foot wide access path to the north of where those timbers and those timber steps are currently existing. So that will all be removed, yes.
Yeah, so I see that 4-foot wide path. So my question to you though is that, I mean, the steps are a little closer to this little edge of lawn thing than where this 4-foot wide path is in here. How is Mr. Tobias going to prevent further erosion in that spot if there's no mitigative plantings in that spot? I mean, that's going to be a weak spot in the.
So when we remove the existing turf in there, that whole area will be seeded with a native grass and wildflower mix. So that is meant to be maintained. We have a 4-foot wide mowed access path. So it will be deep rooted native grasses. It will be mowed occasionally to allow access through, but it will be vegetated so that there won't be any lack of vegetation. We're not proposing stones or gravel or mulch or anything. That will just be a native grass path.
And can I follow up on that? The corridor will be there though.
Correct. Yes.
So the corridors will be there. So there'll be a path to the top of the corridor. And if you wanted to negotiate himself onto the beach carefully, he'd have to step down over the quarters. There's no plan for a railing or stairs at this point.
No.
At this point.
If there were some future consideration of that, we'd have to come back to you folks.
Oh, yeah, I know that.
And it's a velocity zone, so,
Yes,
you know,
and it's a very low spot.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, access stairs are typically allowed if you have no other means of access to the waterfront, even in velocity zones. But in this case, we're not proposing it.
okay. And again, I agree with what Jen said about lawns, which are just anathema. Thank you. That's it.
All right. Steve?
Thank you. I have no problem with the plan. I do have a question about when you discover litter, for lack of a better word, from the neighbor property. Do we then address that as conservation? If I assume the boats aren't allowed to be there, et cetera?
Well, I mean, a lot of that, the boat is, I think it's some sort of canoe that sort of floated up, and the neighbor told me he saw us out here one day, and he said he saw it floating up, and he just dragged it up on shore, and he thought someone might come and claim it, and no one did, and then it's been there for years, and it sort of disappeared in the pucker brush. So I wouldn't really, at this point, think anyone's going to come and claim it. It's more debris, but there's other stuff in there that's just sort of lack of maintenance of that area, and the neighbor sort of adopted it as his own. So, I mean, you would certainly have a right to mandate that stuff shouldn't be there, but we plan to clean it up.
Right. To just follow up with what Mike is saying, that's really the goal in this northern portion, is to clean up all of the debris, get that out of there, get native vegetation planted close to the top of Coastal Bank and along that northern property line, in order to sort of reestablish Mr. Tobias's, make it very clear that this is actually the property line, and to prevent debris and things from continuing to encroach from the north.
Plus, it'll definitely help your northern border of that array.
Exactly.
Thank you, Mr.
Sure. All right. Any further comments from the commission? All right, Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat. Teresa, do you want to kind of address my concern with that lawn area? Do you want to continue and discuss with your client about the need to probably make that buffer? Because, so you heard some of the commissioners, they have some concerns, and if you want it designed a certain way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're happy to bring this feedback back to Mr. Tobias and discuss and revise the plan as necessary. I'd just like to have an opportunity to discuss it with him first.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So
And that'll give us a chance to add the cherry tree to the plan too.
Yeah.
Okay, let me look. Sorry, operating with one hand, but I'm getting better at it. Don't want to put anything else on the 24th, so it looks like it would be the 31st.
Okay.
31st of August.
Perfect.
We request a continuance to August 31st.
Thank you.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this hearing until August 31st. If there's nothing else. All right. Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney?
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Melissa?
Hi, Todd, guy.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until 8:31. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Summer's over. Thanks. See you at the end of the summer.
Good night.
Good.
Okay. That's depressing. All right.
It's just getting
Next
cool
up.
now.
Yeah. It was all the way down to 75 today. Crazy. Next up, Daniel H. and Mary E. Webb, 51 Sitters Lane, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to install a ramp and float in Sitters Pond. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, give me 1 second. I am. There's Tom. I'm promoting Tom Bunker as a panelist so he can present his project. All right, where did Tom? Oh,
Amy, I'll be right back. I've got to let the cat out.
where is Tom? Oh, here he is.
There he is. The man of the hour.
Comes off with this.
You're up, sir.
Really off with this. Okay. I don't know what's going on with this. My computer's slow and odd. Yes, thank you. My name is Tom Bunker with BSS Design, and I'm here to represent Mary and Dan Webb in their pursuit of a float in Sitters Pond. So if I may, I will share my screen and explain it to you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'll just show a couple things from the narrative, and this is to show you where we are in Sitters Pond. This is a photo from 1950, put in there partly to show, you know, what it was like back then. This is the house in question right here. And you can notice the defined line here of this stone wall that's along the frontage of the pond. And this area is in a flood zone AE. It's not a velocity zone, so it should be okay to put a float into it. And this is a picture of the frontage of that pond. I'll just hop to this one now. I had to look twice because frankly, this picture of the type of ramp and float putting in, and mainly this is to show the hardware. You can put a saddle over the wall to connect the ramp to. I had to look twice to make sure this wasn't actually Sitters Pond here that we're looking at, but it's not. Let me get my our drawing here. And so this thing is really slow. Sorry. So here's a survey of the property with the house up here. If you've been there all along down to the water. The Harley going by. There'll be a town hall soon. It's all lawn down to the water. Here is the wall. This on the neighbor's property. There's like a little boat slip there. The wall fronting the property here, and we have soundings. Soundings are on this part here.
Can you speak up a bit?
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You just got really soft.
The soundings are on this plan here. So you see at the outer edge of the float, it's negative. It's 4.9 feet of depth of water at the outer edge of the proposed float location, and it quickly goes down to 8 and 9 feet deep. So the pond is pretty deep there. It drops off quickly. We have a profile. There are about 5 feet of depth at this location at the end of the float. The existing wall, an aluminum truss type ramp going out to the float. The float will be held at two corners by these 3-inch diameter galvanized steel pipes. The two inner corners right here and here, and there's a swim ladder attached to one side of it. This is 8 by 12 foot float. Should be dimension on there, 8 by 12, 96 square feet. That's under the 100 square feet allowed. It's in an AE zone, and it has more than 3 feet depth of water. It has proper clearance to the property lines extended. DEP likes to see 25 feet. This is 28 feet. There is really no disturbance, maybe a little bit of hand digging around here to fit a bracket over the wall. There is proposed an air line that can be put in with one of the little machines that put in irrigation tubing, just probably a 1/2-inch diameter air line for a bubbler for the winter. Other than that, there's no disturbance. There was a letter from Division of Marine Fisheries, habitat of, I might have read it better, but herring or some types of fish. And they suggested a calendar year or a time of year moratorium for the construction of anything that would raise silt. I would suggest that putting in 2 steel pilings 3-inch diameter is not going to raise silt, but if you feel that there's a proper time then when this work should not be done, just please put in the conditions that you feel are appropriate. That's the hearing. That's our proposal. I will take my screen down now.
Thanks, Tom. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. We don't have, I don't think we had any real comments against this one. The board can decide if you want to put the time of year restriction in, suggested by DMF. And that is, we got that late yesterday. Their comments in, we got them in at like 5 o'clock yesterday. I just even noticed Alyssa hasn't seen them yet. But they are suggesting a time of year restriction between March 15th and June 30th. And that's all.
Okay, Ms. Bergeron.
I don't have anything to add. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner comments. Steve.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have any comments either, but thank you for asking.
All right. Melissa.
Yeah, a question, Tom. When you're talking about anything living in there, you sort of faded out. I thought I heard something about herring, but I'm wondering, is there any shellfish in the benthic layer?
No, it's not a shellfish habitat. No.
Okay, thanks. That's all.
Kevin.
No questions, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right. Courtney.
The applicants covered the bases. I have no questions.
Always helpful when they do. Betsy.
I have a couple of questions. First of all, yes, there are herring in Sitter's Pond, and yes, there should be a time of year restriction. Presumably between now and March 15th, the dock could be put in. So all you have to do is put it in sometime other than that period, as you said. Are they going to have a little boat at the end? Is there a mooring field? And if there is,
there's no moorings that I've seen out there.
So you're not planning
I don't know.
They probably kayak at the end, or
kayak, or possibly a small sailboat. I don't think they talked to me. definitely not a powerboat or whatever, but it's for, small family swimming and small boating.
To launch little boats.
Yes.
Okay, and the other question, and this kind of came from what somebody that I met when I was out there, and it wasn't the Webbs, so I don't know who it was that I met, but they mentioned about sort of an ancient way, and so are you going to have to do a Chapter 91 license to allow people to cross? I said to them, that shouldn't make any difference from conservation's point of view, because there are other things we have to look at. But I just thought I'd bring that up.
There is, I don't want to use the term ancient way because that has, legal implications, but there is a path
that's the term that they use to me.
No, right, I know, and there's several of them up in around the shore of Little Island, for instance. There's a path that all the neighbors use, and in this there is. If you look at the plan on the, I could show it to you if you want me to share my screen. But if you look at the plan on the way it's shown on the left-hand side, just inland from the shore, there is a path that enters the property from the west. And I don't track it across, but there is just uphill from where that little boat slip is, there's an area of bittersweet and things. And then there's a path, a lawn path that goes east towards St. Barnabas. So people do, all the people along there do walk along there. I don't know that anybody walks, in the water, but they certainly are allowed to walk, on top of the wall or along the path that's, 20 or so feet inland from the wall.
Yeah, well, I guess you wouldn't, even if Chapter 91 was required, it wouldn't have to do with this project.
Right.
Correct? It would just have to do with the passage.
The easy way is if you put signs up and saying, yeah, you can walk across our lawn just 20 feet uphill from here or something.
Yeah, I mean, that's what people said. They come from the west.
Yeah.
People come from the west and walk across by St. Barnabas.
Yeah, that's they do. That's right.
Yeah, it was like a hidden little gem to find that area.
Yeah, it's nice. Very nice.
Yeah. And that's all I had. Thank you.
All right. Any other comments or questions from the commission? All right, Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat, Mr. Chairman.
May I make a motion, Jamie?
Please do.
I'll make a motion to close this hearing and take it under advisement.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to close this hearing. If there's nothing further. All right, Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Melissa.
Right, guy.
Steve.
And aye.
It is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, Mr. Bunker.
Well, thank you. And I'm not going to say happy end of summer, as we're not there yet.
Thank you.
All right. Good night.
Night, Tom.
Hi, Tom.
Next up, Vincent Jeffrey, Falmouth Holdings Corp., 278 Scranton Avenue, Falmouth, Mass., for permission to reconstruct the existing bulkhead, timber piers, and travel lift, to reconstruct and relocate the ticket office, to construct a boat wash pad and install leaching trenches. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I just promoted Raul from Cape and Islands up to present his project.
Mr. Lozardi, you're up, sir.
Good evening, everyone. For the record, Raul Lizardi from Cape and Islands Engineering, representing the applicant for this project at 278 Scranton Ave, which is the existing Falmouth Marine development. It has marine service inside the building, and there's bulkheads along the shores of Falmouth Inner Harbor. There is also fixed piers and floating piers. There is also service by a couple of ferries on the property. So there is also a ticket booth, which is constructed on one of the wharves.
Excuse me, Raul, I hate to interrupt, but I'm also promoting Bob Ament up. Attorney Ament had his hand raised. I'm assuming he's the attorney for the applicant.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay.
With your permission, I'll be sharing my screen right now.
Yes, sir.
So hopefully everybody can see the screen. I'm really zoomed into the area of the project. If we go to this north part over here, where I'm kind of sketching over, this is the existing building. This to the bottom part of the image is Falmouth Inner Harbor. This line right here is the western edge of the Army Corps of Engineers channel line. So most of you are probably already familiar with this line. Nothing within 30 feet from this channel line can be proposed in terms of proposed flows or structures. So we have more than 30 feet for all of the proposed work. The property currently has both fixed and floating piers. And what the applicant wants to do is convert the majority of it into floating piers, except for 3 of these piers. 2 of them are for the travel lift to get boats out of the water. So those are these 2 at this location. They're going to be rebuilt almost in the same location, and they're going to be fixed piers with a concrete platform. The other one that's currently a large wharf fixed pier is at this location. This is the wharf that currently houses the ticket booth at this location. And that ticket booth is going to be removed. The fixed wharf is also going to be removed. In its place, the applicant is proposing to construct a single fixed pier at this location and relocate the ticket booth out of a wharf and onto dry land at this location. This plan shows a ticket booth of approximately 10 foot by 8 feet. But the applicant is more like looking at a size of 10 by 10 based on the equipment that they're going to need inside this ticket booth. Either way, it will be within the deck platform that's proposed at this location, which is 16 by 50 feet. So the ticket booth will be just on top of that deck. So if I just remove some of the line work that I just drew, there's several resources at this location. There's land under the ocean, which is the inner harbor, land containing shellfish. There's a coastal bank, which is the bulkhead itself. To the south of the property, at this location on the neighbor's property, there is a couple of little salt marshes and other salt marshes further down, and there's also a coastal beach. So all of this proposed work lies within one or a multiple of buffer zone A's. The flood zone also, it's a V zone. So there's a 25-foot V zone per the Falmouth regulations. Part of the project, in addition to the pier reconstruction, is also reconstruction of the existing bulkhead. This bulkhead was last reconstructed in the early 1990s as a timber bulkhead, similar to many others on the inner harbor. What we're proposing to do is remove the bulkhead and rebuild it in a composite material structure. The bulkhead, for the most part, follows the same alignment in proximity, but there is a rather long section at this location where the new bulkhead is going to be shifted back approximately some 11 to 12 feet. Another retreat of the bulkhead happens at this location, but it's rather small for about 4 feet. All of this work will require a new Chapter 91. So after all the permits locally are obtained, the project will go before the state for a Chapter 91 license. Currently on the property, there's very little or practically no natural vegetation. There are several hedges of privet currently at this location. They're broken up by sets of stairs. What the client is wanting to do is, because that portion is going to be retreated with the bulkhead, these privet hedges will be relocated at this location behind the new bulkhead. The bulkhead will have a new deadman system to anchor the project in sight. And we also have the improvement in terms of ground stormwater with trench drains behind the bulkhead. In addition, at the back of the land side of the travel lift, there's going to be a concrete pad for washing boats, and there's going to be a holding tank within that holding pad. All the equipment currently on the property is going to be relocated in terms of connection pedestal for power and telecommunications for the floats. The pump system for wastewater, there is one currently at this location in the wharf. That one is going to be relocated to this portion of the travel lift. A second one is proposed for the ferries, to service the ferries somewhere on this location on the proposed deck. None of the work gets closer to the channel than currently exists. In fact, we're actually reducing the amount of structures that this marina has. We're going from approximately 349 timber piles to 218 vinyl coated piles. We're also going for approximately 6,800 square feet of piers to approximately 6,300 square feet of piers. So all in all, we're reducing the amount of structure, and we're also creating approximately 3,600 square feet of new land under the ocean by retrieving this portion of the bulkhead and this little portion at this southern part of the site. That practically sums up the project. There will be a seal boom within the harbor, and we received a letter from DMF, and I believe there's going to be a time of year restriction like is typical for this type of projects. So if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you, Raul. Jen?
One quick question, Raul, and if you mentioned this, I apologize. The new bulkhead's going behind the existing bulkhead, correct?
For the most part, except for that vicinity around the travel lift and the further south bulkhead. Those are going to be built kind of on the same location.
In the same location, but they're not encroaching further into Falmouth Inner Harbor.
That is correct. Nothing moves into the water.
Thank you. I just wanted that clarified for the record. And yes, Raul, we will probably place a time of year restriction between from January 15th to May 31st on this project, in accordance with DMS recommendations that we like to follow as much as possible. Other than that, Mr. Chairman, I don't have any comments unless Alyssa has something to add.
I have no comments. Thank you.
Raul, what's the advantage of the floats versus the fixed? Why change?
Easy access. Most people rather have the boat and the pier itself moving together to access their boats. In the terms for the ferry, it's a little different. The ferry is rather high off the water. So entering those ferries is about 4 feet above the water level. So they rather have the fixed pier for those two services, for those two boats.
Thank you. All right. Commissioner comments. Courtney. We lose Courtney?
I think he's frozen.
Oh, no.
Yep, Courtney's frozen.
All right, we're going to come back to Courtney. Kevin.
No comment. Thank you.
Melissa.
Couple of questions, please. And thank you, Raul, for the presentation that made it a little easier to understand what's going on here. Hey, you can hear me, right? Yeah. On my plan here, you'd mentioned the ticket booth seemed to be moving off to the, I guess, to the north. But on my plan, I have a 20 by 18 foot thing that's mentioned as a proposed location for reconstruction of 20 by 18 ticket office. So what? But you mentioned a 10 by 10 ticket office.
So there was a revised plan submitted last week on Wednesday. So we did revise the plan. I hope that you all have the revised drawing in front of you.
I guess I don't have the revised drawing in front of me here.
So yes, initially, the applicant was looking to relocate the ticket booth in the same size and kind of the southern location.
Yeah.
But they found, because of all the years that they've been using the site, they wanted to get the ferry away from the travel lift just to separate the two different uses, because the marina use is very active and they don't want to use, they'd rather not have the public, a lot of public within that vicinity. So they decided to move it to the north end. And the size of it, because the existing 18 by 20 with today's technology is too much of a structure for what they actually need. So they're downsizing it. And the other benefit is coming off of the wharf, which is on top of over the water, to dry land on a deck.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that clarification. I just I was wondering about that. And then you're changing everything from a timber bulkhead to a composite bulkhead, and you're changing the pilings from wood to plastic or to vinyl.
So yes, the piles are still wood. They're just vinyl coated to protect them. So yes.
So more plastic into the ocean with them. You're not agreeing with me on that one, are you?
I guess it's what vinyl and composite is one of the preferences over PT timber.
Yeah.
Okay.
Less chemicals, more plastic, less toxic chemicals.
That's so we're trading out the chemicals for the plastic. Is what you're saying then. Okay. Thanks.
Just smile, Raul.
Yeah, Raul, just smile. That one, yeah. I don't know. What do you consider the advantages, Raul? You say it's preferred medium now, but tell me more.
So the timber piles, I don't know if anybody from the commission has gone to this particular site. Last year, there was an RDA approved by this board because the timber piles underneath some of the fixed piers were completely deteriorated in a matter of about 25 years. So it is wood that is exposed to the weather and the environment, and it does deteriorate. The vinyl coated extends the life of that wood pile inside it. So it does extend the lifespan of the structures. At the same time, it has been preferred over PT wood or PT piles, even by this board.
Okay, well, I'm new on the board, so we haven't met yet. And so are these plans, as far as verticality is concerned, are you compensating for sea level rise?
So yes. For example, if I take, for example, that new proposed fixed pier for the ferries, the existing pier is at elevation 4. So the end section of the new pier is going to be elevation 4. However, at the back on the bulkhead side, we're going to elevation 5. The new bulkhead has several heights today. Today, there's heights of about 3.8 all the way to elevation 5. So it goes gradually up as you go north on the property. What we're proposing to do is the south side is going to stay at elevation 4, but then we transition to elevation 5 and then 5.5. The travel lift is currently at elevation 4 and it's going to become elevation 5. So after 20 years, or actually 30 years now that this marina has been built, since last time it was built, we're raising the majority of the bulkhead by a foot.
Is that enough?
One can always argue. There's some people that believe the water is going to raise several feet in 30 years. So I'm not sure if it's enough. I know it's better than what's on the site today.
Okay, I guess I'm digressing from the task of this committee here. I guess my concern is just the plastics as opposed to the chemicals. Thinking about, yeah, I know the inutility of wooden bulkheads that have been around for centuries, but okay. Thanks, Raul. No more questions.
You're welcome.
At this time.
Steve.
Thanks. We were at this site last year, right? Or last year. And this seems like the solution that would best serve their long-term needs. And it seems to have a positive environmental impact. So I don't have any questions.
Betsy,
So Melissa, we have a third choice. We could use Green Heart and chop down tropical forests.
Well, Venice has been on oak pilings for, 1,500 years. I know it's sinking, but it was a little longer than 30 years.
Yeah, but that's because it's not exposed to oxygen at all.
Yeah, so
Boston's the same way. I mean, all these cities that are built in former wetlands, the wood is it's anoxic down there.
yeah.
So stuff isn't to be needing. It's a problem, right?
Yeah, well, this won't be exposed to oxygen in a couple of years anyhow, because it will all be underwater. So.
Yeah, and if I could add also something else, and we've seen it. I've been presenting this type of bulkhead reconstruction for the past 10 or so years, and the Inner Harbor has shown this all throughout all these timber bulkheads. The section that where the tide fluctuates, there's a lot of marine environment that grows in there and creates bores and it creates holes. And what's happening behind this bulkheads, there's sinkholes that begin to appear, and it's pretty common in this area. So the wood structure, yes, it's a natural material, but it does suffer over time. The composite and the vinyl coated last longer than the wood materials.
I guess I should just be heartened that you're exposing more of the seafloor and that you're reducing the size of the piers and reducing the piling numbers and all that stuff. So thank you for trying.
Betsy, anything else?
Yeah, I just want to say that I think it's a good project. It'll be better than what's there now, and hopefully we can all hope that it'll last for 20, 30, 40 years, depending on how quickly sea level rises. That's all. Thanks, Jamie.
Okay. Courtney.
No questions.
All right. Mr. Ahmed, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Thank you for asking, Mr. Chairman. I think that Raul did a terrific job, and obviously this kind of investment in the marina in the marine district in town is something the town should applaud. So thank you for your efforts.
Thank you. All right, Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat, Mr. Chairman.
Then I'm not going to make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Second, O'Brien.
All right. We have a motion and a second to close this hearing. If there's nothing further. All right. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Melissa.
Right, guy.
Steve.
Aye.
It is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, Raul.
Thank you.
Bob.
Good night, everyone.
Thanks, Raul.
Night, Raul. Night, Bob.
All right. Next up, continued request for a notice of intent. Walter Marioni, 409 West Falmouth Highway, West Falmouth, Mass. For permission to reconfigure and replace the front yard landscaping, add a patio and hardscape, install mitigation plantings, and restore an area of unpermitted clearing. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I've promoted Scott Ferry out to present the continued project. Mr. Ferry, is there anybody else joining you this evening?
Mr. Nick Marioni is joining by phone, but
that be the Galaxy S21 5G?
Probably.
Mr. Marioni, if you're the Galaxy, can you raise your hand, please? Thank you.
Well, there it goes.
We would have been better keeping him muted, but that's all right. So, thank you, Jen. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members, Scott Farrier from Holmgren Engineering. We were before you a few weeks back with a plan at this property. As you, I'm sure, recall, we have a proposal for a 224 square foot patio right behind the house, and also some mitigation and restoration for some clearing that took place within the 100-foot buffer zone. We had a plan. We did a lot of discussion at our last meeting about the amount of plants that we had proposed and also the type. We had some arborvitaes, and you folks certainly let me know that you didn't like those. So we've replaced all of those with the field-grown red cedars that you had suggested. And we've also beefed up the plantings in that proposed restoration area.
Mr. Ferry, do you have a plan you'd like to share with the board?
I can certainly try.
If you can, I can jump on and share the plan for you if you'd like. Just let me know. And I do keep trying to promote Mr. Marioni up and nothing's happening. So here he comes.
All right, can you folks see that?
No, not yet, sir.
Not yet.
Oh, good. All right. Just give me 1 second, please, folks. And I hate to disappoint you, but I'm looking at it on my screen, and I'm not sure why you're not.
Okay, give me 1 second, Mr. Ferry. I can probably bring it up for you.
Did you hit share screen?
I did.
Haha.
That's about the limit of my technological skill, though.
All right, I'm almost
You gotta
there.
tell it which screen you want to share, though.
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of trying to do that, but
Jamie, I just want to warn you that I've been warned that my internet is unstable. So if I drop off, I'll try to get back on as soon as possible.
All right.
All right, Mr. Ferry, I have it up on my screen. I can share my screen for you.
thank you very much.
Not a problem, sir.
There we
I'm going to, okay, there we go. So it's the plan, can everybody see that?
Yes.
All right, there you go, Mr. Ferrier. Mr.
Ferrier, you're up, sir.
He just went away, Jamie.
Oh.
Mr. Ferrier, he might have an unstable connection too.
Time for fiber optics.
Give him a second, Jamie. He might have just frozen himself up. Jamie, why don't we table this one and we can come back to it while Mr. Ferrier tries to reconnect. Oh,
There he is.
There he is.
Sorry about that, folks.
Not a problem. I'm going to share my screen for you, Mr. Ferrier.
Thank you. I apologize.
No worries. Can everybody see the screen?
Yes.
All right.
So pretty much the bottom of the screen, that mass of black and gray right there is the limit of restoration that we're proposing. It's about 3,200 square feet. A mix of, let me see, a mix of northern bayberry, arrowwood, high bush, blueberry, and sweet pepper bush, as we talked about. And there are also a few red maples mixed in addition to the field-grown red cedars that are up against the lot line, separating our property from number 403 West Falmouth Highway.
Is that it, Mr. Ferrier?
I think so. If there's any questions, I'll certainly do my best to answer them.
Okay. I'm going to punt this one over to Alyssa since she has been working quite closely with you on revising the plan. Alyssa, you good with that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So yes, from the last time we were here with Mr. Faria and Mr. Marioni, it seems like they have addressed the board's concerns. We do not have any comments at this time. We did have some emails regarding this hearing that have been forwarded to the board, and I hope you guys had received those. I think that's all we have for the moment.
Thank you. Commissioner comments, Betsy,
I have no comments. Thank you.
Courtney.
No comments.
Okay. I'll just say thanks to Mr. Ferrier for addressing staff's concerns.
Appreciate the
Mr.
input.
O'Brien,
No questions, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Melissa,
All set.
Steve.
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat, Mr. Chairman.
All right. If there's no other comments or questions,
You'd like a motion?
please.
I'll make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Heard second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to close this hearing. If there's nothing further. All right. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Heard aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Melissa,
Okay.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, Mr. Ferrier.
Thank you for your patience, folks. Have a good night.
Aye.
Thank you. Good night. Thank you.
All right. Next up, request to amend an existing order of conditions. William Trifero, 330 Edgewater Drive East, East Falmouth, Mass. Request to amend the order of conditions for Mass DEP number 25-4685 to permit the expansion of a previously approved landing and steps and the installation of additional mitigation. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I've promoted George Collins up for him to present his request to amend. Hi, George.
Good evening.
Mr. Collins, you're up, sir.
And I also have Mr. Trefero that is sitting in on the meeting, if possible, if you could promote him
Absolutely.
as a panelist.
There he is.
And if possible, would you be able to allow me to share my screen?
Yes, sir.
Can everybody see that?
Yes.
So for the record, George Collins from Collins Civil Engineering Group, representing William Trefero for an amendment to an existing order of conditions. We were before the commission last fall and obtained an order of conditions right around New Year's for the construction of an addition. I'm going to zoom in now. Unfortunately, the plan is very busy because we had to go to Zoning Board of Appeals. There's a lot of things on here. So basically, this area here was an existing enclosed porch, and that has been all renovated. And then And then this area here is the actual addition. And then if you look right in this area here, there's a step and a landing. That was what was originally approved by the commission. And basically what we've done is we want to expand the landing out to here and have a step on the east side facing the water, and on the south side, two steps down. That modification expands the deck and landing by 109 square feet. And let's see here. All the revisions to the plan are shown in red. So basically we went from three mitigation areas, and shown on the plan are actually 5, and two of those are actually just an expansion of two of the old mitigation areas. So we have mitigation area 4 here, which is 296 square feet with 33 additional plantings. That's this right in here. And then mitigation area 5, 42 square feet with 5 additional plantings. It should be noted, this is the, let's see here, I'm just gonna pan down a little bit. This line right here, although it's, that's the 50-foot buffer to the coastal bank. All the proposed mitigation is within the 50-foot of the coastal bank buffer. So basically, let me zoom out here. So I modified, let's see here, I apologize. So basically, I'm not sure how to move things around here, but basically in this area, I've changed the planting schedule to reflect the additional plantings. Let's see here, see if I can, I apologize, I'm not very good at this. Here we go. There's an area right here behind, next to the planting schedule, that shows the additional plantings. Again, I have the mitigation schedule modifications also shown in red. And so basically, to make a long story short, we basically want to expand the that landing and provide mitigation to per the requirement of the commission. We submitted a plan down here. You can see I submitted a plan on July 18th. And based off of some initial comments from staff, I moved mitigation area 5 and the bayberry shrubs. And then based off of some comments within the last couple of days, or actually yesterday, I guess, I added the lot coverage and velocity zone summary, which is right here. And this is the total project, not just what I'm presenting you now, but including the original approval. There's no net increase in structures within the FEMA velocity zone, and we increased the net structures in the Falmouth, the 25-foot buffer, the supplemental 25 feet that the commission requires. So the total net increase in structures is 173 feet. And again, that includes what was previously approved. So that's a total number. And, similar to the original application, we have, we're proposing erosion control. And then, and this project is actually underway. This addition has been constructed, and so time is kind of of the essence. But he's trying to wrap this up. It's my understanding that his daughter's getting married at the property next month, so we're trying to wrap things up here. I know that's not necessarily a concern to the commission, but But just so you're aware of that, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that the staff or commission may have at this time.
All right, Jen.
George, can you stop sharing your screen, please?
Sure.
Thank you. Our only comments are what we always say in regards to mitigation is it should be as close as the resource area as possible. Unless Alyssa has anything else to add.
Not at this time. Thank you.
All right, George, I have two questions. Is this moving closer to the resource area?
It's not closer than the nearest structure. Over here, you have an 18-foot dimension to the between the existing deck to the top of coastal bank. So what's being proposed is not closer than what's already on the site.
You say you want to get this done as soon as possible. Does that mean you're going to do the mitigation planting as soon as possible also?
Whatever makes sense, from the commission standpoint, it's always been I'm not an expert on plantings, but it's, whatever makes sense from a construction sequence perspective. My experience is typically you do plantings in the fall and spring when things aren't as dry. But whatever makes sense to the commission. I apologize, that's not my area of expertise. But I would anticipate if we were going to do the plantings, it would be during a little bit cooler weather, just so the plantings have a better chance to take. That's based off of my limited knowledge.
All right, and are you amenable to moving the new mitigation closer to the resources?
I mean, that's something, again, everything's less than within 50 feet of the coastal bank. So I guess that's subject to interpretation of what the commission is looking for versus what we're looking for. My client is concerned about blocking any of his view. So that's something. I don't know whether Bill wants to chime in on that, but basically, we would like to get this approved as presented. However, getting this approved is very important to us. So I believe, if Bill may be flexible as far as the mitigation location. Bill, would you like to talk? I think you need to unmute yourself if you want to chime in.
Hi, thanks for having me, folks. Can you guys all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so, as George has presented, at this time, we're underway with the construction. We're probably a little bit more than halfway. We still got a lot of busy workers around the house and disrupting, the workflow. So as far as putting the plantings in, I prefer to wait toward the end of the job. Therefore, there won't be, everybody, and the lumber won't be all over the place. It'll be all nice and neat on the driveway, and we can maintain, and then we can go forward with the plantings. That's how I had hoped to go forward with the plantings for that sake. And as far as getting any closer, I was hoping that we could keep it out of the view of the backyard. We only have that certain, flat spot in the back that we look to the beautiful view of the, river out back. And I was told that we could, if we keep it within the 50 foot, that's something we have to do. And we are trying to do that. And I think we are going to. And I prefer not to put it right flat, right out the back in our view, if I had it our way. I'm not really sure what else I could say.
All right. Commissioner comments, Kevin.
No, no comments. Thank you.
Melissa. Melissa, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm trying to figure out how to say this. I'm looking at mitigation area 5 and looking at mitigation area 2 and thinking that 5 could easily swing around to next to 2 and get closer to the coastal bank. Yeah, but I wasn't here for the original one, so I'm not sure. For example, I'm also looking at number 4, and I see it reaches underneath larger trees, and I'm hoping that the mitigation plants will actually thrive in the shade there. But maybe you can come back to me, Jimmy.
All right, Steve.
Thank you. This seemed to be a modest addition to an existing plan. And it's no, in my view, it's no closer to the bank. So I don't have any problem with it.
Okay. Betsy.
I have a couple of comments. First of all, the water superintendent was in front of the selectmen and they voted to support his, I don't know what you call ban from August 15th on for any watering with, other than hand watering. So I think it would be impossible for you to get the plants in. The problem is, I'm wondering if, and let me, I guess, go back and ask Jen, can one of the conditions be the mitigation plants be put in at a date certain?
Sure. We can condition it however way you would like to condition it.
I mean, the problem is, this is George and Mr. Trefero, right? Is people like to build things and then they kind of forget about the mitigation plans. And that doesn't make us very happy. And the other question I have is I can't remember the figure you had, something like 172 feet within the velocity zone. Is that right? Something like that?
Yes.
So just ask Jen to just put that down as one of the findings.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all, Jamie.
Okay. Courtney.
As far as the mitigation plannings are concerned, I hear what Betsy's concern is, that we're in a real drought right now. But personally, I would just soon see those mitigation plannings go in sooner than later, and if they have to be carefully hand watered, they can be deep watered, even if it has to be every other day. I particularly because it's a tight area and once they're in, the construction isn't going to be a problem for them. Other than that, it's fine.
Okay. Melissa, did you find what you're looking for?
No, I'm going to pass.
Okay. All right, I understand about the mitigation plantings and watering and such time of year and all that. All right, are there any other commissioner comments or questions? Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat, Mr. Chairman.
All right. What are you thinking?
You asking me, Mr. Chairman?
I think he's asking the board.
I'm sorry.
I'm making a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Gladfelter, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to close the hearing. Mr. Collins, do you have anything further?
No, I just want to point out that mitigation area 5 is right up against the top of Coastal Bank. The top of Coastal Bank kind of wraps around to the north side of the property, so that mitigation area 5 is very close to the resource area.
Thanks, I just saw that too.
So mitigation area 4, that is, in a trajectory further away from the resource area. But mitigation area 5 is not. Just want to point that out.
Yeah, I just noticed that. Thanks so much. That's why I didn't say anymore.
All right, if there's nothing further, we have a motion and a second to close the hearing. All right, Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Melissa.
Freytag, aye.
Steve.
At 9.
It is unanimous. We have closed this hearing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Collins.
Thank you very much.
Good night. Have a good end of the summer.
Thank you. You too.
And a great wedding.
It's at the end of the summer. Stop.
All right, next up are continued requests for a certificate of compliance. John Samorian, 21 Fay Road, Falmouth, Mass. Request a certificate of compliance for Mass DEP number 25-2254. Can we take the other one at the same time?
Yes.
Also, Michelle Samorian, trustee, 21 Fay Road, Falmouth, Mass. Request for a certificate of compliance for Mass DEP number 25-4372.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicants are requesting a continuance until October 5th.
So moved.
Bird, second.
Okay, to be clear, we're going to be voting on both of these requests.
Correct.
With one vote. Everybody clear on that? All right. So we have a motion and a second to continue this request until October 5th. For both certificates. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Melissa.
Freytag, aye.
Steve.
At 9.
It is unanimous. We have continued both of these requests for certificate of compliance till October 5th. Next up, continued hearing under an enforcement order. I apologize if I get the name wrong. Stephen Guiggio and Kathleen Tuhig Guiggio, 192 Second Essex Road, Falmouth, Mass. Unpermitted clearing within conservation jurisdiction. Jen?
So when did they want that continuance to?
Yes, the applicant is requesting a continuance until October 26th.
So moved.
Bird, second.
Thanks, Melissa.
No problem.
All right. We have a motion and a second to continue this enforcement hearing until October 26th. Did I get that date right? Thank you. All right. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Melissa.
Freytag, aye.
Steve.
At 9.
It is unanimous. We have continued this enforcement hearing until 10/26. All right. Next up, vote orders of conditions. First up, Timothy G. Gonzalez, 656 Walkway Highway, Falmouth, Mass.
Yeah.
We can't do these together, can we?
We have to take them separate. It won't take that long. Basically, this is just to install mitigation plantings required under previous orders of conditions.
Well, that kind of sums it up easily.
Can I make a motion to accept as discussed or to issue an order of conditions as discussed?
I think you can.
Second it.
I'll second. This is on the first one only though, right?
This is on 656 McCoy Highway.
Yeah, I'll second.
I think Steve already did, but that's okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions as discussed. Is any comments or questions? All right, Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Melissa.
Hightail guy.
Steve.
I'm not.
It is unanimous. We have issued an order of conditions. Next up, Vicky A. Donovan, 670 Walkway Highway, Falmouth, Mass.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is to install mitigation plantings required under a previous order of conditions.
Make a motion to issue an order of conditions as discussed.
Bird second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions. If there's any questions or comments. All right, Betsy. We're voting. Betsy, did you hear me?
I just heard you. Gladfelter, aye. My internet's going in and out.
Oh, it could be me. I don't know. Courtney.
No. It's blinking.
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
Brian, aye.
Melissa.
Hightail guy.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have issued an order of conditions. Next up, Gaetano Fodera, 258 Edgewater Drive East, East Falmouth, Mass.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is raise and reconstruct. I just want to check one thing. Okay. Just want to make sure that none of the structure was in the V zone. Raise and reconstruct and install mitigation areas, mitigation plantings. Also, I think we discussed that area of beach grass that was removed, right, Alyssa? The area of beach grass, so we could restore the area of beach grass that had disappeared as well.
The note that the existing shed and rinse station are being removed.
Correct.
And that there's no new rinse station, AC pads, or generator on the current plans.
Yes, we discussed that.
Yeah.
All right, so it has to come back as an amendment if they want it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I have. Anybody have anything in there they want to see? Melissa?
Yes, I believe this is, we talked to Mike Borselli about the previously installed mitigation along the riprap there that will need to be replanted in addition to the cedars. And I believe it was Courtney that recommended field cedars.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll make a motion to issue an order of conditions as discussed.
Bird second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions as discussed. Is there anything else? Ms.
Sorry,
Bergeron?
I also saw the note. The path to the dock, the wooden path, is to be removed from the beach.
Yeah.
Right. All right, last chance. All right, we have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions as discussed. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Melissa,
Freitag, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have issued an order of conditions. Next up, Andrew and Tammy Levitt, 245 Sipawissett Road, Falmouth, Mass.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, they are adding an addition, a garage, adding a deck extension, and small addition in the front. And they're reconfiguring the driveway because it's a really kind of awkward driveway, to say the least.
But isn't that part out of our jurisdiction?
The driveway?
Well, removing the old part is.
Just the apron is out of our jurisdiction.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, most of the driveways in your jurisdiction.
All right, anybody have anything they want to see in there? All right,
I'll make a motion to issue an order of conditions as discussed.
Bird second.
all right. We have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions. If there's nothing further. All right, Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Melissa. Melissa,
Well, Freitag, aye. Freitag, aye. My internet connection is unstable. Freitag, aye. Yeah.
yeah. Sure it is. Steve,
Pat and I.
all right. Thank you. It's unanimous. We have issued an order of conditions. Next up, Christopher and Jennifer Lemley, trustees, Osprey Nest Realty Trust, 96 Chappaquoit Road.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that's the big raise and reconstruct down in up at Chappie. I'm just getting the plan, the revised plan. Where do you want to go with this one? I mean, it's a big project. They're doing a lot. They've added some mitigation, added some restoration. They are adding
A swimming pool.
the swimming
between
pool,
all kinds of bodies of salt water.
But they are adding those all those cedars in that area of the overgrown garden. Do you have any concerns with that? That's currently kind of all overgrown and vegetated. Okay.
Oh, I thought it was pretty good.
Okay, fine with me. Just let me know what you'd like me to do. Okay.
What would you suggest, Jen? What kind of plantings would you rather see other than cedars?
Oh, no, I'm just saying it's naturally vegetated now. Or is the board going to allow them to put the 15, replace the 15 trees that were moving to the site in this naturally vegetated area? That's what we were getting at.
Well, it's not really, well, I mean, it is naturally vegetated. It's overgrown, but the question is, could that square footage be placed somewhere else or replaced by X number of trees somewhere else?
Yeah, so my internet froze again, so I didn't hear your answer, Jen.
No, what I was saying was cedars are fine. It's a perfectly acceptable plant for that environment. What I was saying is that usually the board does not allow mitigation in an area that's naturally vegetated. And although this is overgrown and naturally vegetated, it's kind of weedy and just overgrown. It was an old garden area. So just
were they going to rip that out for
Yes.
were they going to end up trampling that to do the new construction? Was that the idea?
No, they're ripping it out to put in the new cedars.
You're ripping it out to put in cedars.
It's a nice little old garden.
It's an improvement.
There's some heirloom stuff in there. Oh, well.
Is there any other changes the board would like to see on this one?
They're sanitizing the place. Ugh. Well,
Yeah, I think you should compensate for the square footage of naturally vegetated area that's being altered there.
yeah, I mean, can we have them do like lower story things and mid stories as opposed to just cedars?
Okay, those are two different things. Let's take Betsy's first. Betsy, if we were going to have them replace that square footage somewhere else on the property, then that should have probably been asked at the hearing because there's no place to put it.
But I like Melissa's idea because
give it a little bit more structure.
Yeah, there are a lot of places in West Falmouth that are like that, where cedars have been put in, but then there's other kinds of lower woody vegetation underneath the cedars, things that can live in shadier places.
Yeah, there's a lot of little creatures down there that will appreciate the cover, especially if they're ripping out low level vegetation.
Okay, I can add that.
Courtney's got his hand up.
Do you want different size?
Thank you to Mike.
Different size shrub, and then create a shrub layer underneath the different size cedars?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm just trying to understand, they're planting cedars, right?
Yes.
So if you put an understory under there, if you presume that the cedars lower branches go all the way to the ground, it doesn't make sense. If the bottom branches have been pruned off, then it makes sense to put an understory.
Yeah, I guess I'm envisioning half the rest of the neighborhood where all the bottom branches of the cedars have been pruned off.
Well, if they have been, then yeah, you put.
They do have different heights in there. They do have different structure. They do have different size cedars in there with different heights.
Okay.
So they have JV1, which is 5 to 6 feet. Then they have JV3, which is 6 to 8, and then JV2 or JV3 is 8 to 10. So they do have a mix from 5 to 6 to 6 to 8 to 8 to 10. So there is going to be some different structure in there. And then they have the understory planted with sweet fern.
I guess my concern is that they're taking this really healthy overgrown ecosystem and replacing it basically with a monoculture.
I'd like to see some woody shrubs mixed in with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But not necessarily as an understory.
Well, some of it can be an understory.
Or blended in somehow.
Cedars almost always grow and they shed their lower, and blend it in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are lots of places along in West Falmouth that are like that have groves of cedar with stuff underneath.
That whole drift road area is like that.
All right, what else?
I'll make a motion to accept as discussed. I mean, to issue an order of conditions as discussed.
Bird second.
All right, is there anything anybody else wants to see in there? Any other questions, comments? All right, we have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions as discussed. Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney?
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Melissa?
Freitag, aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have issued an order of conditions. Next up, Joy Kaplan, 2003, Revocable Trust, 41 Bywater Court, Falmouth, Mass.
Did you do anything amended to add that garage addition in the front? And then they're raising that foundation up to get to get the structure out of the floodplain. So
The garage was underneath.
Yeah, in the front, underneath. Yeah.
Underneath, okay.
Yeah. Garage in addition below dwelling.
And that'll all have flood vents along it, right?
Right.
All right. Does anybody have any new conditions they'd like applied?
No, thank you.
I'll make a motion to issue an order of conditions as discussed.
Third, second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions. If there's nothing further. All right. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Third, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Melissa,
Freitag, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have issued an order of conditions. Before you jump on the last one, I have a couple of things. Reminder, there's no meeting next week. Jen, did you guys send out a letter about staking properties?
Okay, I'll send out a reminder. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. So I have three concerns. I don't know if they should be in a note or not, but one is the staking. We need to make sure that all the properties are staked property, and some signage marked so that we know what properties they are. One of the things that frustrates me is I take it as an insult when people say, if anybody went to the site. I wish these people would just assume that we did go to the site. I work for a living and I still spend a lot of time on weekends going to sites, and checking plans and reading narratives. And it annoys the heck out of me when if this is for all the applicants out there, and you're going to assume anything, assume we did our job.
Okay. I would be happy to send a reminder.
Some people should learn how to share. All right, I'm off my soapbox.
Didn't you learn that in kindergarten?
Yeah.
I think he means the plans, but I don't know.
It's Zoom. Hey, in attendees, we have lectern. Who's that?
That's FCTV.
Okay. Oh, we're on TV.
Did you not listen to my narrative at the very beginning?
I did.
All right.
I must have been stacking my papers in the right order, Jamie.
Yeah, right.
Did not, Steve.
I did.
I did.
Hello, world.
Him and Mike.
Yeah. You guys.
Pink cat.
Sucking up to the staff
Black
every
cat
meeting.
crossing our paths here.
He wants to adjourn.
I do. I'll make a motion to adjourn, Patton.
Freitag, second.
Gladfelter, aye.
Third, aye.
Matthews, aye.
O'Brien, aye.
Freitag, aye.
Patton, aye.
Good night,
Unanimous.
guys.
Yay, we
We
won't
are
see each other for
adjourned.
2 weeks.
Whoa.